What happens when a CEO walks into his own bar and realizes customers are being charged for things they never ordered? Owen Mercer had built his cocktail bar chain from a single beat-up dive in Kansas City to 18 locations across 5 states. He'd been hands-on in the early days, scraping gum off floors, arguing with liquor reps, making payroll by skipping his own check. But ever since the business grew, layers of managers, district supervisors, and corporate teams formed. He hadn't worked a shift behind the bar in over 3 years. Lately, something had been bothering him. The numbers at the Dallas location weren't adding up. On paper, the bar was doing well, high sales. Inventory looked clean, and the district manager, Blake, had nothing but praise for the team. But customer reviews were sliding. Not terrible, but complaints about surprise charges, rude service, inconsistent drinks. Owen hated second-hand answers, so he decided to go down there himself. He shaved the beard he'd had for 5 years, dyed his hair brown, got a pair of cheap glasses, and used an old friend's bartending license under the name Eli. The corporate team helped set it up like he was a new hire transferred in from another state. None of the staff had ever met him. He'd only video called this team once during lockdown, and even then, his camera was off. The Dallas bar was sleek, busy, and loud. It looked like it was thriving. But as soon as Owen walked in, he felt something off. "Who the hell are you?" a sharp voice snapped from behind the bar. A tall, lean guy with a permanent frown stared him down. His name tag read Troy Manager. "Eli, new bartender transfer," Owen said calmly. "District said you were short." Troy eyed him like he didn't care. "Great. Another rookie. Hope you don't slow us down. You shadow Gina tonight. Don't talk. Just watch." Gina was the opposite of Troy. Warm face, fast hands, focused. She gave Owen a quick nod and got back to slinging drinks. By 9 o'clock, the place was packed. Young professionals, tourists, a few regulars. Gina worked like a machine. She smiled through every order, apologized when someone had to wait, and somehow remembered 6 cocktails at once. Owen watched her, impressed. But then he noticed something strange. A guy at the end of the bar ordered 2 beers. Gina poured them, handed them over, and rang them up. The screen showed 2 beers and something else, specialty garnish, for $4. Owen leaned closer and saw Gina pause. She didn't say anything, just tapped OK and moved on. The customer looked at his receipt, confused, but didn't say anything. At first, Owen thought maybe it was a one-off. But it kept happening. Every 3rd or 4th order had some extra charge, premium ice, garnish, VIP pour. Always small amounts, between $2 and $5. No one explained it. No one asked. During a quick break, Owen turned to Gina. "Hey, what's with those extra charges?" "The garnish thing." She hesitated. "Troy says it's policy. He made us start it a few months ago." "You tell customers?" "Not unless they ask," she said quietly. "He said we'd lose tips if we did." Owen didn't respond, but his stomach turned. The next morning, Owen showed up early to clean. Gina was already there, wiping down bottles. She looked exhausted. "Troy's gonna be late," she said. "He never shows before 1. "Why do you stay?" Owen asked while stacking glassware. She shrugged. "I love bartending. I've been here since opening. I got bills, and this place used to be great. Now, I just keep my head down." Owen nodded. He didn't want to push her, but he needed to see more. That night, the game changed. A couple at the bar ordered 2 cocktails. Simple ones. Gina made them, handed them over. As she rang them in, Troy walked by, leaned in, and added a $6 VIP ice charge. Didn't say a word to the couple. "Hey, what's that?" the man asked, pointing to the receipt. Troy leaned in with a fake smile. "Oh, that's for the hand-cut ice. Premium. Keeps your drink cold longer." "We didn't ask for that," the woman said, frowning. "It's standard," Troy said, already walking away. They looked uncomfortable but didn't argue. Gina looked at Owen, her face tight. Later, in the back room, Owen finally spoke up. "Gina, come clean with me." "How long has this been going on?" "Since March," she said. "Troy says it boosts sales. If we question it, he cuts our shifts." Owen clenched his jaw. "Anyone report it?" "District manager doesn't do anything. Blake likes the numbers. Says we're top performing." Owen leaned against the wall, heart pounding. He couldn't believe it. He built this place on honesty, real service. Now customers were being played, and good workers like Gina were stuck choosing between ethics and rent. He had seen enough. Tomorrow, he'd come back. Not as Eli. As Owen Mercer. Owner. Owen arrived the next morning before the sun came up. The bar was still dark, the smell of stale beer and citrus peel lingering from the night before. He walked in through the back, not as Eli the new hire, but as Owen Mercer, the man who signed the lease on this building, paid every paycheck, and built this name from nothing. He didn't make a scene. Not yet. He found Gina in the dry storage room, organizing liquor boxes, her apron already tied, hair pulled back. She froze when she saw him, not because of who he was, but because she realized something had changed. He wasn't wearing the glasses. His posture was different. He looked her in the eye. "I need you to trust me for a few hours," he said quietly. She nodded, no questions. By 10, the general staff began trickling in. Owen stayed in the back, watching surveillance feeds with the assistant manager, Sherry. She was quiet, mid-30s, and moved through her tasks with robotic precision. She didn't ask questions either, just unlocked the safe, set the tills, and didn't flinch when Owen told her who he really was. She stared at him for a long second, then asked, "Are you shutting us down?" "No. I'm fixing it." She gave a short nod and went back to counting singles. By noon, he'd reviewed over 3 months of POS logs. The pattern was consistent selective charges padded across random tickets. Never enough to trigger suspicion, but frequent enough to add thousands to monthly revenue. Owen printed 30 receipts, all from different days. All had the same fraudulent add-ons. He set them aside, circled the same 3 bartender IDs that kept appearing on them. Troy, a woman named Kyla, and a part-timer called Devin. He called Blake. The district manager answered on the second ring. "Hey boss, didn't know you were in town. I didn't tell anyone. You in Dallas today?" "No, I'm out in Tulsa. Everything okay? Come back tonight. We need to talk. Don't tell anyone you're coming." There was a long pause. "Understood," Blake said. Owen hung up and turned to Sherry. "I need one more thing." "What's that? Did anyone ever raise this to you? About the extra charges?" "I've heard whispers," she said. "But Troy shuts it down fast. Staff are scared of losing hours. And frankly, I figured if Blake kept him around, it must be fine. No one's losing hours for telling the truth anymore," he said. By 5, the bar was already half full. Gina was on shift along with Troy and Kyla. Devin was scheduled later. Owen remained in the office, watching the floor through the monitors. He didn't need to see more, but he wanted Blake to witness it for himself. At 6:30, Blake arrived. Mid-40s, polished, confident. He wore the kind of smile that sold franchises. When Owen opened the office door, Blake stepped in and immediately shut it behind him. "You've been here undercover?" Owen nodded. Blake exhaled. "Okay, let's talk about what this is. I'm assuming there's some kind of issue." Owen handed him the receipts. "These are just upcharges," Blake said after glancing at them. "Not illegal. Some customers like premium options. They weren't asked. They weren't told. They just got charged. That's a training issue. I can handle that. They weren't mistakes, Blake. They're part of a system. I watched Troy add them himself, on orders the bartenders had already punched in. Saw Kyla do it too. Devin? Only when Troy's around. This isn't a misunderstanding." Blake set the papers down. He kept his tone even. "I understand. But let's also not forget this location has the best margins in the region. Top sales. Happy hour traffic is up 15% year over year. You want to blow that up over a few bucks? Owen's eyes narrowed. You think I care about margins if they're built on fraud? I think you care about perception, Blake said evenly. And if you start firing people, you're going to have a mess on your hands. Troy's been here since the first expansion year. He knows the system. He trains the crew. You lose him, your floor collapses. Owen's voice was low. He's done. Tonight. Blake didn't answer, just adjusted his blazer and walked out of the room. Owen followed him onto the floor. The bar was packed now. Happy hour crowd in full swing, laughter, clinks, music thumping just under the roof. Troy was behind the bar, chatting up a group of tech bros, pouring doubles into single glasses. Owen watched him add a charge to the POS without a glance at the screen. Gina caught Owen's eye. She didn't smile, didn't nod, but her hands moved faster, like something had shifted. Owen stepped behind the bar. Troy turned, confused. Hey, man. What are you doing back here? Owen didn't answer. He reached up and turned off the music. The room stuttered into silence. People looked up from their drinks. I'm Owen Mercer, he said loudly. I own this bar. Murmurs spread like a current. Every bartender froze. Kyla's hand hovered over a register. Devin, just entering from the side door, stopped in his tracks. Owen held up a receipt. This bar has charged customers for things they didn't ask for. Garnishes, upgrades, all without consent. That ends tonight. Troy laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. What are you talking about? You've been modifying tickets. I watched you. You added $6 charges to drinks that cost $8. You never asked. You never told them. You're misunderstanding, I'm not. You're fired. The room went silent again. Staff stared. Troy's face shifted from confusion to anger. You can't be serious. I run this floor. You think you can you're done, Owen repeated. And if you say another word, I'll have security escort you out in front of all these customers. Troy looked at Blake, who stood stiffly near the end of the bar. Blake didn't move, didn't say a word. Owen turned to Kyla. You ever charge a customer for something they didn't order? She swallowed hard. Troy told us to. Said it was protocol. It's not. If you want to stay, that ends. Immediately. She nodded, eyes wide. Owen looked at Gina. You free to step up into a lead bartender role? She blinked. Yes. Good. You're in charge of the floor tonight. And you're the new bar trainer. Retro pay adjustment starts next week. Gina didn't move at first, just stood there stunned. Then, like something inside her finally gave way, she exhaled and nodded. Owen turned back to the crowd. To every customer here, I apologize. Anyone who received a charge you didn't approve, your tab tonight is on us. Just show your receipt to the bar. Gasped. A few cheers. One guy clapped. Owen turned and walked off the floor. In the office, Blake followed him in. You just gave away a night's revenue. I'd rather lose a night than lose our name. Blake closed the door behind him. So what now? You're done too. Blake froze. You knew. You let it happen. You called it good margins. You're out. Blake's face darkened, but he didn't argue. He took his keys from his pocket, set them on the desk, and walked out. Owen sat down alone in the office. He didn't feel righteous. He felt responsible. And he wasn't leaving this bar until every customer had walked out with exactly what they paid for, nothing more, nothing less. The next 48 hours were a blur. Word of the reveal spread fast on staff group chats and social media. Some customers posted their receipts online, praising the honesty. Others admitted they'd stopped coming because the bar felt shady. Owen read every post, stayed off camera, and refused interviews. He wasn't interested in optics. He was interested in fixing the rot. The Dallas location ran short-staffed that weekend. Owen didn't leave. He worked the bar with Gina, took inventory with Sherry, restocked during lulls, and filled drink orders without fanfare. No special attention. No speeches. He just worked and watched. On Sunday night, after close, Owen gathered the remaining team around the bar. There were only 5 of them now. Gina, Sherry, Kyla, Devin, and a barback named Luis, who barely spoke but never stopped moving. "I'm not going to pretend this past week didn't shake things," Owen said. "And I'm not here to make anyone feel small. But it's clear the culture in this place got away from us. That's on me. I got distant. I trusted the wrong people." No one said anything at first. Kyla rubbed her wrist. Devin looked down at his shoes. "You're still here," Owen continued. "That means something. Starting this week, things change. No more pressure to hit made-up metrics. No more VIP ice. You serve real drinks with real transparency. If someone wants something extra, you ask them. If they say no, you thank them and move on." He paused. "And if anyone ever tells you to lie to a customer again, you come straight to me. You won't lose shifts for telling the truth." Devin raised his hand, hesitant. "Can I say something?" "Go ahead." I shouldn't have followed Troy's lead. I didn't like it, but I told myself it wasn't my job to question him. That's on me." Kyla spoke up next. "Same. I figured if Blake and Troy were okay with it, that was the standard. I didn't want to lose hours." "You won't," Owen said. "But let's be clear, this doesn't get brushed away. You'll all go through retraining. Paid time. If you cut corners again, there won't be a second conversation." They nodded. Sherry folded her arms. "What about hiring? We're down 2 bartenders and a supervisor. I'm working with HR to bring in a temp from another location. I'll run point until we find the right hire. I'm not rushing another Troy into this place. We rebuild from the ground." He looked at each of them. "If you're on this team, you're accountable. No one hides behind titles anymore. You see something shady, you say something. No exceptions." The meeting ended without applause. Just tired nods and quiet gathering of bags. That was fine with Owen. He didn't want celebration. He wanted trust. That would take time. The next morning, Owen walked into the bar during prep and found Gina unlocking the liquor cage. She looked up. "Didn't expect you this early. I didn't sleep much." She pulled out a bottle of mezcal, set it on the counter. "You worried about the fallout?" "No. I'm thinking about how close we came to losing the soul of this place." She leaned against the bar. "It's not gone. Just bruised." "What kept you here?" he asked. Gina looked at him for a moment, then said, "It wasn't the money. It was the regulars. The ones who come in after closing deals or bad Tinder dates. This place was their spot. I kept hoping it would go back to what it was." Owen rested his hand on the counter. "We're going to earn that back. No offense, but I'll believe it when I see it." "Fair." Later that afternoon, a soft-spoken bartender named Maya arrived from the Austin location. She'd been handpicked by the GM there, known for her calm under pressure and zero tolerance for games. Owen introduced her to the team and made it clear she wasn't here to take over, just to stabilize the schedule and help train. By midweek, the bar's energy began shifting. Not magically, it was still tense during peak hours and customers asked more questions than usual. But there was no fake charm behind the bar anymore. Drinks came out right. Receipts matched exactly. And for the first time in months, tips started climbing. On Thursday night, a regular named Stan, a retired firefighter who came in every Thursday for a neat bourbon and a quiet seat, left an envelope on the bar with Gina's name on it. Inside was a short note. "Glad you're still here. This place feels honest again." Gina read it 3 times before she folded it and tucked it into her tip pouch. She didn't say anything to Owen, but he saw her eyes linger on the register a little longer that shift. She didn't flinch when a customer questioned a charge, she just explained it clearly, waited for approval, and moved on. That night, after close, Owen sat with Maya and Sherry in the back office. They went over hiring plans, 2 solid leads, both with clean track records and strong references. No rush, no favors, just qualified people. "I want a new hiring protocol," Owen said. "Final interviews go through me. I don't care how small the role is. Every time, Sherry asked. Every time, Maya nodded. You'll lose candidates if we take too long. I'd rather lose candidates than integrity. The next morning, HR flagged a concern. A former employee had anonymously filed a complaint alleging Troy had routinely made lewd comments toward female staff and retaliated when confronted. Owen requested the case file, reviewed the internal notes, and felt his stomach tighten. The complaint had been filed 2 months earlier. It had been marked as resolved without follow-up. He called the head of HR directly. I want to know who marked that case closed. There was a pause. That would have been Blake, the voice on the other end admitted. He said he handled it in person. He didn't. That's not a resolution. I understand. We'll reopen it. No, we're not reopening anything. We're starting a formal investigation. And I want every complaint from the past 12 months cross-checked. All locations. We can do that. Owen sat in silence after the call. He thought about the women on staff, the way Gina had kept her head down, how Kyla had followed orders without question. He wondered what else had been silenced for the sake of clean numbers. He picked up his phone and called Gina. I need to ask you something, he said. Did Troy ever cross a line with you? There was a long silence. Not directly, she said finally. But he made it clear who he respected and who he didn't. The women who pushed back never lasted long. We all knew not to challenge him. I should have seen it, Owen said. You weren't here. That's not an excuse. She didn't argue. That afternoon, Owen posted a memo to all location managers. It was short and direct. From this point forward, any report of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation will be investigated externally. No district manager has the authority to dismiss a complaint. Any attempt to do so will result in immediate termination. He signed it himself. No PR filter. No legal cleanup. That night, the Dallas bar was packed again. But the energy had changed. The staff moved with purpose, not fear. The music wasn't louder, but the conversations were warmer. Customers lingered longer. And for the first time in months, Owen didn't feel like an outsider in his own space. He stood in the corner, watching Gina train a new hire on the register. She was patient, clear, and firm. The trainee made a mistake on the second input. Gina corrected her calmly, no edge in her voice, then moved on. Owen turned to leave. He didn't need to be on the floor anymore. They were holding it up themselves. The following Monday, Owen returned to Kansas City. Not to step away, but to rebuild from the top down. The Dallas incident had exposed more than a localized failure. It revealed a systemic erosion in leadership accountability, and Owen wasn't going to let it spread any further. The first order of business was restructuring the district oversight model. Owen dissolved the regional manager roles completely. No more mid-level buffers. Each bar now reported directly to a newly assembled operations council, 5 individuals with proven track records in hospitality, handpicked by Owen himself. None of them were from corporate. All of them had once worked the floor. He brought Gina to headquarters for 2 days of onboarding. She'd never been on a plane before. She didn't say much during the flight, but when they landed, she walked into the office with steady eyes and a clear voice. Do I get to speak honestly here? That's why you're here, Owen said. She sat in on training audits, reviewed hiring protocols, and helped rewrite the onboarding packet for new bartenders. She flagged vague sections, eliminated the outdated jargon, and added a section on guest transparency that hadn't existed before. She didn't ask permission, she just did it. In a closed-door meeting on her second day, Owen turned to her. You ever considered running a location? I don't know anything about payroll or licenses, she said. You'll learn. I want you to take interim management of Dallas while we search for a permanent GM. If it fits, we'll make it permanent. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, I'll do it. But I'm not babysitting a broken place. You won't be alone, Owen said. And anyone you don't trust doesn't stay. Gina returned to Dallas with a new badge, a company phone, and full hiring authority. By the end of the week, she'd cut 2 underperforming barbacks, brought on a veteran server from a nearby restaurant, and started running nightly debriefs. Not one scripted meeting, just 10 minutes at close where staff could say what went wrong and what they needed. When Owen checked in with her on Friday, she didn't talk about profit. She talked about time. "They're not exhausted anymore," she said. "Still tight. But now people feel like their shift ends when it's supposed to." Owen didn't press her. He could hear the difference in her voice. Meanwhile, the HR investigation into past complaints was completed. The findings were worse than expected. Multiple reports had been closed early, many under Blake's authorization. 2 other district managers had similar patterns. All 3 were terminated immediately. Their severance packages were revoked under the ethics clause Owen had added years ago and nearly forgotten about. He called each of their direct reports personally. "I know trust was broken. I can't undo what happened to you, but I can make sure it doesn't happen again." Most listened quietly. One woman cried and said she'd already quit 2 months earlier. Owen asked for her address. He mailed her a letter of apology and a check equal to the earnings she'd lost after resigning. Back in Dallas, something unexpected began happening. Customers returned. Not in droves or with fanfare. Quietly, a few each night. Some left notes. Some just tipped better. One man left a folded napkin with a single sentence written in pen. "Glad this place got its heart back." Inside the bar, changes were subtle but purposeful. Maya stayed on temporarily to support training. She and Gina developed a buddy system for new hires, pairing them with consistent mentors during their first month. Staff started showing up early again, not because they had to, but because they weren't dragging their feet anymore. One night, Owen flew down without notice. He didn't go behind the bar. He sat at a table near the back, alone, in a hoodie and baseball cap. Ordered a gin and tonic from a server he didn't recognize. No one gave him special treatment. His receipt was clean. 2 items. Both explained up front. He left a cash tip and walked out without saying a word. The next day, he called Gina. "That was the first time I felt like a customer in one of my own places in years." "You want a loyalty card?" she said. "I want to know what you need next." Gina paused. "Structure," she said. "Not just here. Across the board. If we're rebuilding, we need consistency. Training. Real ones. Not the slide decks corporate sends out. And we need a culture that doesn't depend on whoever's in charge that month." "I'll fund a training program," Owen said. "You design it. Only if I can use real staff in the videos." "Deal." Over the next month, Gina worked with the Operations Council to produce a new training series. No actors. No polished scripts. Just actual bartenders, servers, and barbacks walking through what integrity looked like in the real world. The videos covered everything from handling disputed charges to de-escalating conflict without turning cold. They didn't just tell people what not to do, they showed them how to do it right. Each module ended with the same line: "Your reputation isn't something marketing builds. It's something you build one shift at a time." The Dallas location stabilized. Sales leveled out, not explosive, but honest. Staff turnover dropped. Sherry returned to a floor supervisor role after asking to step down from admin. She said she wanted to be closer to the work again. At headquarters, Owen added a new seat to the Operations Council. He didn't fill it himself. He gave it to Gina. "You earned it," he said. "I didn't create this company to be a ladder. I created it to be a place people don't have to climb over each other to survive." In her first meeting, she didn't speak until the end. When she did, it wasn't about policy or margins. "It's not about fixing broken bars," she said. "It's about noticing when they start to crack." No one interrupted her. No one added a line on top of hers. They just wrote it down. In the following months, Owen made it a rule to work 1 shift a month at a random location. No cameras. No announcements. Just a barback clearing dishes or a server running drinks. He never stayed long. He didn't need to. Because he wasn't checking on people anymore. He was staying connected. And that was the difference.